Hello. I didn't have a lot of time to actually prepare anything, so I've just noted down a few little things, and I'll give you some ideas here. I want to talk to you about what I think of the United States. This is my third visit here. I've written down one or two things I like and one or two things I don't like, and this may be actually food for thought and maybe even a discussion afterwards. I've travelled a great deal in my life. I started travelling, though, a little bit later. I was actually an adult when I started travelling a lot. During my childhood, I bought a bike when I was 16 years old, which then cost £2, $3.60, I think it was then, the exchange rate. And that started me off travelling. When I was in my 20s, I was able to get these tickets called imperial tickets, which allowed you to actually travel throughout Europe. I've lived in a variety of countries. I now live in Poland. I spend most of my time there. But I've also lived in France, Spain, spent a great deal of time in Italy, and also obviously in the United Kingdom. I really like to travel and see things. This is my third visit in the United States. This is the second time in Santa Barbara, and the first time I was in Cincinnati. That was in 2000. Anyway, I'll tell you what I don't like to start off with. Actually, it's not so much personally don't like, because it's not these are not things that really bother me a great deal. It's just sort of things that actually ought to bother you more than they bother me. But I'll start off with the first thing, which is weights and measures. I don't like the imperial system. I don't like things like talking about pounds and how much do you weigh. Well, I know how much I weigh. It's 80 kilos. And how much is that in pounds? Well, I've now learned it's 180. But it's very, very difficult to calculate things like that. But it gets worse. If you've got things like feet and inches and yards, I find that extremely difficult. For example, if you have a swimming pool in your garden and it's 10 yards by long, 5 yards wide, 2 yards deep, how many pints of water or gallons of water go into that? Nobody can calculate that without a calculator. But if it were in metric, I can do it in my head. 10 by 5 by 2, how many litres are in that? I can do it really like that. It's no problem at all. So I think that's something you might want to consider. Changing. Oh, well, not the people here. Well, it's got to start somewhere. Why not the people here? The next thing I'd mention is energy. This country wastes an incredible amount of energy. Now, everywhere, energy is wasted. It's wasted a great deal in many countries. The problem, I think, in the United States is a problem more actually of architecture. You have a society which needs cars. You run out of milk, you have to get in the car to go and get it. There's no town centres in many places. Okay, here in Santa Barbara there is a sort of a town centre. If there's a town centre in Los Angeles, I haven't found it and I don't know where it is. I heard there was one in New York, I don't know, I haven't been there. But it's not just on energy on cars, it's energy in other ways as well. It strikes me that when I walk around here and I compare it to Norwich in the UK where I've got properties, and there in Norwich there's far more solar panels than I see here. I don't see them. Now, solar is a very good way of getting energy here, with 300 sunny days a year, and I think that is something that ought to be developed a great deal more. And when I heard, for example, the Republican primaries, I don't want to talk about politics, but I hear them talking about burning more coal, burning more oil. I mean, what world do they live in? These things are going to run out, and then will be a moment to think of something. This criticism is not just of the United States, it's of everywhere. Energy is wasted terribly, but here it's especially so. Another point which does bother me a bit, I see a lot of poverty in this country. A lot of people tend to think in the US that this is the wealthiest country in the world. From what I've seen, I can assure you it isn't. And the poverty in many areas is very, very visible. Here in Santa Barbara, maybe it's because there's a great contrast between those with the haves and the have-nots. I had an experience on my second day here. I met a lady in the car park at Henry's Beach, and she was living in a camper van. And now I also live in a camper van, but I'm a bit odd. I live in a camper van and I've actually got properties, I could be living in them, but I like to travel around and see things. She was living in a camper van, because she had to, and I felt very embarrassed after a while when I was telling, oh, you can actually do this, you can do that, you can do the other things which are going to cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, telling her what I've done to my van, which was a more modern version of hers. And then after that, she had to live in that camper van. She had no choice. I do appreciate that, for example, in London, you see lots of people living on the street who may be living on the streets because they have mental problems or something of that nature. And I don't know what the situation is here because I don't tend to talk to the homeless too much. But I think that's one issue that I don't know what's like in other parts of the country as well. I've got to say that. Another thing is that I like this place. I think it's a great place, but everything seems to cost a lot of money. And I would like to rent something. Well, I mean, if it's going to cost what? Can you rent a flat at $1,000 a month? Is that possible? It's a lot of money. I mean, it's even more expensive than Moscow here. It's awful from that point of view. One thing, though, is very cheap, is though there are restaurants which are really very cheap. You get a really good buffet for $10 in many places, which you certainly can't do in anywhere else I've been to, at that quality. You can get them in London for about £5 or £6 in Chinatown, but they're awful. But here, it's super quality, superb. I'd like to say, actually, the best place I've been at was the Panda Chinese restaurant in Ventura. Just like to drop that in. But the Indian restaurant, flavour of India, superb, just like London, and it's at a very small price. Now, they're the things, incidentally, which I don't like, so I'm coming on to what I do like. I think this is almost like paradise for me. We have two things. We have this wonderful contrast between the sea and the mountains. I'm an outdoor person. I like to get out. I like to walk. And I get up every single morning. I'm out at 6 o'clock in the morning, still dark, and I'm walking, either in the hills or along the seafront. It's absolutely wonderful to see the sun come over the sea, and it's fantastic. I've filmed these things and I put them on my internet site. I see the red lights come up, so that means I haven't got a great deal much time, so to speak. Unfortunately, I should have just said I've done one on what I like rather than what I don't like or something. I thought that the lack of history, I'm a historian, and I thought the lack of history in this country would bother me. It doesn't. It's great to get out and the nature and the wildlife. It's absolutely fantastic. Finally, I would say that the people here, I've got to say, are really very friendly. You're outside in the street somewhere, everybody speaks to you. Now in Britain we have that. In many countries in Western Europe it's like that. In Central and Eastern Europe, except for Germany, it is not like that at all. Nobody speaks to anybody. The conclusion is this. I would like to spend every winter here. I could come here in November and stay here until April. Okay, I've got trade fairs and things like that, but there are planes that can get to places like Moscow or wherever I have to be in, in a day's travelling, including a bit of rest and what have you. So I think this is a really very good place. Of course, it is the weather that I'm here for, above all, but the other things are also good as well. And I think I have to finish now, don't I? Thank you.